JBS presents exclusive television coverage of the 2016 Jerusalem Post Conference from the Marriott Marquis Hotel in New York City.
So what is BDS? BDS is a movement to eradicate the state of Israel. Clear and simple. It's not about 67 borders. It's not about any borders. From the Jordan to the sea, Palestine will be free. There's no Jews. There is no Israel. And this movement is becoming the source of renewed anti-Semitism in the United States. In fact, this movement is not just about Israel. It's one to eradicate the state of Israel, but the ultimate goal is the United States of America. It's our democratic way of life. It's the freedom of speech. It's the way we live here. So it's not just upon us to wake up. America needs to wake up. Europe have not waken up in time, and I'm not sure if they can do anything about it, but America should wake up. Let me give you an example. The leader of the Student for Justice in Palestine, Hatam Bazian, said in a rally in San Francisco that the people in America should stand up, start an intifada here in the United States against the American administration. If you look at what they're saying, they're starting to mix their anti-Israel rhetoric with anti-American rhetoric.
Rabbi Eckstein has been cultivating enormously important cooperation with Christian Zionists here in the United States, and so how do you see BDS impacting your work with the Christian community here in the United States? God bless them.
The fact of the matter is that the BDS movement is not, in my opinion, seriously affecting the relationship with evangelical Christians. I know there are some articles that saying that they are, that the movement is, but it's really just picking up a couple of people and groups on the left wing of the evangelical community. The center and the right, which is the stronger in numbers and influence, is still solidly behind Israel and the Jewish people because it's based on the Bible. And so what I believe, the Gemara says that if you're fortunate, Zocha, Melachtan ne'aset al yedei acherim. If you're fortunate, your work will be done by others. I think the Jewish community is making a serious mistake. We're relying only on ourselves, and we can't do it alone. There are not too many Jews in Korea, where we have an office, not too many Jews in Brazil, where we have an office, Costa Rica. China has 100 million evangelical Christians, potential supporters of Israel. The way long-term to fight the BDS movement is to build strategic alliances and friendships with our friends. We have today a group of 25 of the leading representatives of the African American community going to Israel with us on a one-week tour. That's the way you need to do it. The seminaries. I didn't hear the beep. Oh, okay. The silent beep.
I really believe that BDS, it's simply and it's the closest term to anti-Semitism in our days. And we ask ourselves, where are all our ambassadors here and all over the world? Because there is no doubt for me, there is no reason to justify what the BDS said. I can tell you that there is no army all over the world which behave in a higher moral that our soldiers behave in our circumstances. And the reason that we, from time to time, we criticize ourselves, it's because we are the most sensitive people after we survived the Holocaust to this issue.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, so now we're going to start the second round, and I'd like Adam Milstein to begin it again. How are you personally fighting BDS that you were describing before I cut you off so rudely? Here you go.
Thank you. I was interrupted when I said that the campuses today are no longer a safe place for Jewish students. I think Carolyn mentioned what happened this week in Irvine, where 20 Jewish students were attacked by 50 Hamas on-campus students, which their American name is Student for Justice in Palestine, but they're Hamas on campus. In the beginning of the month, in Harvard Law School, Tzipi Livni was asked by another Hamas on campus guy, how come she's so smelly? It's completely anti-Semitic. In Harvard Law School, in last month, Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat in San Francisco State University inside Hillel was not able to speak because those activists, the Hamas on campus, were chanting "Fuck Israel" and "From the river to the sea," and did not let him speak when the police on campus basically did nothing. But it's even worse than that because those Hamas activists are now operating from inside Hillel. Just a couple of weeks ago, during Yom HaZikaron, which is the day we commemorate the fallen soldiers and the victim of terrorist attack, on that day, J Street U and Student for Justice in Palestine held a Nakba event in Brown, Rhode Island, inside Hillel, with the approval, or known and unknown, but approval of the staff of Hillel. Now, a month ago here in Columbia University in New York, also inside Hillel, they have invited Breaking the Silence to speak about the human rights and the criminal acts of the IDF in the West Bank. And, you know, Breaking the Silence is a criminal organization that is under investigation in Israel for collecting and selling IDF classified information to European countries. So I think this cancer is not just out there in the campuses. The cancer is even here within us, and we need to wake up. If I...
You have another minute.
Now, when I was introduced to BDS some 7-8 years ago, nobody knew what it is, and 5 years ago, the Jewish community said, don't make too much noise, it's going to go away. But it's not going away. It's getting stronger and stronger, and it's incorporated now a lot of Jewish students. So we have to wake up, and there are two ways to deal with BDS. The one way has been done before. It's training, and it's seminars, and it's trips to Israel, and debate skills, and mutual event with our enemies, but did not work. And I'm not saying to stop it. Let's continue by all means. But you have to fight fire with fire. We can't be silent. We can't be politically correct. And there is no way that we can dialogue. Thank you. There is no way we can dialogue and have a discourse with people who want to eradicate us. It just doesn't make sense. So we need to boycott the boycotters, we need to fight fire with fire, and we need to develop additional abilities or capabilities to fight BDS. We need to be on the offense. We need to attack. We need to attack the attacker. We need to have a war of attrition where they just can't do whatever they want to do to the Jewish students and just continue like nothing happened.
Okay, Rabbi Eckstein. How are you? What are you doing?
I believe there are two ways of approaching a subject like the BDS. One is direct confrontation, head-on. It started a couple of years ago. I mean, its history goes back, but in a real way here in America. And I think there are enough Jews and Jewish organizations and, frankly, Jewish funding that is going to the anti-BDS movement. That's not where I come in. And the fellowship, which has 1.6 million Christian donors with an average gift of $76, that's sacrificial, that people are giving up stuff in order to do it. I believe we need to rally the positive as well as the other which we aren't involved in. And by that I mean we have a radio program that has weekly, 13 million Christians around the world that listen to it on Israel. It's in Spanish, it's in English. We have TV. We have millions of people who follow our social networking. And as I said, we have offices in different parts of the world. So I believe that the approach is to gather positive, to reinstill, don't take it for granted. I started the first evangelical Jewish conference 38 years ago, and I've devoted my life to this. We cannot take it for granted. We need to nurture the relationships, build the alliances, and I would just say in conclusion, another thing that we're doing to fight, not so much to fight the BDS, but for the preservation is that the Jewish institutions that have been, many of the Jewish institutions that have been around for 100 years, 10 years, 50 years, are unable to meet the needs of the Jewish community issues today. And by that I mean, we are funding, with the rise of anti-Semitism and terrorism, it's Christians giving $76 on the average to do security for all of his communities around the world. We are providing security for 75 cities, 35 countries in the world. Where is the Jewish community? We are bringing Jews on Aliyah in the thousands. And finally, we are picking up the voids of helping the poor and the needy, and the fact that today, in the wealthiest time of the wealthiest Jewish community in the history of the world, Holocaust survivors are going to sleep hungry, not just in the former Soviet Union, but in Israel. To me, and it's being picked up
Rabbi,
by Christians, to me is a failure of the Jewish institutions, and we need to do better.
Thank you. Thank you. Rabbi Margolin, your 3 minutes.
I think I will take now my minute from before. 3 years ago, I had the privilege to found an organization by name EIPA, Europe-Israel Public Affairs, which aimed to fight against the BDS, to make Europe closer to Israel, and to improve the image of Israel in Europe. I know it's sounded a very heavy task, and indeed Mr. Stern was at the first event we organized. During the last few years, we brought to Israel hundreds of senior journalists from the leading newspapers in Europe. We organized briefings in Europe for the senior European journalists. We brought members of the European Parliament and their advisors to Israel, and we organized briefings for them. And I'm proud to tell you that in the last year and a half, we succeed to secure over 400 positive articles about Israel in the biggest newspapers in Europe. Thank you. There are ways to do it. We cannot just say we can't. We could, and I think that we show it in the last few years that we could. The way we speak with the Europeans are in Europeans. We speak with them in their language. We show them that to support Israel is not only to be correct about the justice, but we show them how if they boycott Israeli products, how many Europeans will suffer because the Israeli products save so much of the European lives. We show the Europeans that if they will not support Israelis, then it will also increase the level of anti-Semitism in Europe, which of course they don't want to do so. We do a lot of things with journalists and members of the European Parliament, and I would like to tell you that we cannot compare the situation in Europe to the situation of the United States of America. America did great work with the different organizations they have in Washington, and it's not just by miracle that America is the biggest friend of Israel. We could make Europe also a big friend of Israel, and we'll be more than happy to cooperate with all the Americans organizations and learn from you. How did you succeed to make you, America, so strong with Israel? And I have no doubt that we will just continue step by step to speak with journalist after journalist, leader after leader. We can make Europe again a great place and secure place, not only for the Jewish people who live in Europe, but as a great supporter for the state of Israel.
Okay, Shalom, Norman, talking about this and talking about your work on behalf of Russian Jewry in Israel, how do you see, if you want to discuss it, if you want to talk about something else, I'd be interested to talk about the struggle on conversion in Israel, sort of the light of Jewish identity and enabling these Jews in Europe and in the United States to feel more connected with Israel.
I was asked last Thursday, somebody asked me, 250,000 youngsters from here went on birthright to Israel, and they came back. Where are they in these big battles? Where are they in the BDS arena? Where are they? The sounds and the voices are not heard as much as we want to. My question is, it's about belonging. You take kids for 1 week to Israel, you get them back. What happens later is a big thing, and it's the role of the communities. My concerns, and that's a hidden agenda that should be more exposed. I mean, we have youngsters who come from the former Soviet Union. They are not allowed to marry in Israel. We give them the ticket, we provide them the tickets with the help of Rabbi Yechiel here to Israel, and then we don't provide them the ticket to go to Cyprus to get married. We have hundreds of thousands who are not recognized in Israel. It's about alienation. It's about the future of how we see ourselves. In 10 years from now, I don't know if anyone will remember or to pronounce BDS, but I know what kind of a society in Israel will have, and it's not necessarily what we want to have. And if we don't go deeper to end up with the whole issue of status, of equality, getting the Jewish collective in Israel full identity, we won't be able to maintain the struggles of the future. And that's our concern. We have today hundreds of thousands who are not allowed to marry in Israel in an appropriate way. We have hundreds of thousands who cannot be buried in Israel in an appropriate way. We have 85% of the new immigrants below the age of 40 who are not halachically Jewish. And they are not the ones who get off in Ben Gurion Airport and get to the Orthodox Church in Jaffa. They are part of the Jewish collective. And there is a role for us to do something about it, because if we won't do it, the future battles on issues like BDS, other issues, anti-Semitism, we'll lose it. We'll lose it. It's about alienation. It's about how we look into the establishment. And the American Jewry has a major role in it. The impact on the religious establishment in Israel has to come from here. And if we don't do something about it, about registration of these newcomers as Jews, conversion in a more appropriate and inclusive way, to get them be part of us.
Member of Knesset Stern, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, particularly if we have parliamentary action, for instance, on the issues of conversion, and any other way you want to use your 3 minutes. Thanks.
Thanks. I will continue what Shalom just said. You ask yourself, where are all of our ambassadors? Birthright graduate, or, and many other visitors in Israel, or even the kids here. Unfortunately, we have created an identification between being rightist or to being religious and rightist. And the issue is, of course, I consider myself religious, I consider myself middle right, but in the same time, I think that I'm very pluralistic, and only because of one reason. I think that if we continue to present to our kids in Israel, on the kids' ear, an equation that having a Jewish state, it's to put as more obstacle as you can in the conversion process. Having a Jewish state, it's put women outside of the right to elect the chief rabbinate. Having a Jewish state is, maybe make a small favor to other dimensions, gives them, far away place in the Western Wall. And then you ask yourself, where are they fighting the BDS? I think that the BDS is temporary challenge. But giving the right of being proud Jewish to every one of our kids, it's strategic challenge and strategic reach about our current behavior. And what I truly believe, that in 80 years, when we'll not have with us any more Holocaust survivor, or parents who came on a small boat from Morocco or in donkey from Yemen, and if we will not succeed to give them a Jewish meaningful, here and in Israel, we can try to find them. They will not be not only fighter to the BDS. Unfortunately, we will not give them a reason to stay in Israel.
Beside BDS and anti-Semitism, the two big challenges to the Jewish people are disconnecting from Israel and assimilation. 75% of kids under the age of 30 don't feel connected to Israel, don't feel that Israel is part of their identity. That's according to the 2013 infamous Pew Report. Also, there are only 4 million Jews in America that identifies themselves as Jewish. So the numbers are dwindling here. And I'm here as the chairman of the Israeli-American community to present to you that we can be part of the solution. Our mission is to ensure Jewish and Israeli identity of our future generation, to be the bridge between the American people and the Israeli people, and to promote and encourage leadership within the Jewish community and the American community. Our connection to Israel, to Judaism, to our history, to our heritage is through Israeliness, which is the culture, the language, the values, connection to Israel, the proud Jews. We need to be part of the Jewish American solution to the disconnection of the young generation and to the assimilation in the United States.
Thank you, Adam. Rabbi Eckstein, your minute and 10 seconds is up.
I want to commend each of these people and the organizations that aren't here that are doing mamash avodat kodesh on this issue of Jewish life. So a groise yeshikoach to each of you. I want you to know that we've brought to Israel on Aliyah over 1 million people from all over the world. We helped start Nefesh B'Nefesh from America, and we bring from Russia and Ethiopia. Unless we're able to resolve the issue of the 300,000 Russian Jews who came to Israel and aren't halachically Jewish, and now they have children who were born in Israel, already 110,000 who can't get married in Israel, can't have a bar bat mitzvah. If they're killed in the army, God forbid, they have to be buried outside. We need to resolve that issue, and I commend you for doing that. Secondly, no.
You have 20 seconds for...
Okay, 30 seconds. All the kiruv work that Chabad is doing, the wonderful work that you are doing with Israeli Jews. I would just add one last thing, because our issue is poverty helping Jews in need. And what I'm seeing is a diminution of the value of being Jewish. It's not just staying Jewish. It's Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Bazeh. That is the threat. Greater, in my opinion, than BDS is that we Jews do not feel responsible for one another.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rabbi Margolin, please comment on that or anything else. You got 90 seconds.
About a year and a half ago, our lobbyist in France sat at one of the offices of the French Senate member. It was a day before the French Parliament voted to recognize Palestine as a state. And our lobbyist asked the guy, he says, tell me, how could you recognize Palestine? He told him, come here. He opened his Outlook and he showed him that he received hundreds of emails from French citizens asking him to recognize Palestine. And he said, I have been elected by people. I cannot ignore their request. So we decided, if hundreds of people who sent emails to each member of the French Senate succeed to make Palestine recognized by France, we will make thousands of people to write each member of any European member of parliament against any kind of thing in the future. So I was happy to hear Mr. Milstein about his activities in America, and I'm happy to tell you that 2 months ago, we began a campaign in Europe to get people who are friends of Israel, who would like to support Israel, and join our EIPA Active, an army we would like to create. And I'm happy to tell you that over 7,000 people already showed their interest to support Israel on the social media and with the political work. So God willing, next time, at any time that any parliament in Europe will have a question about voting anything against Israel, they will be bombing by thousands of their citizens, not Israelis, their citizens who will ask them to take the right decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. Shalom.
You know, we opened 2 classes of conversion for candidates on Aliyah in Moscow, in the Central Synagogue, with the help of the local congregation. We opened a class in Kiev. We are going to open one in Dnipropetrovsk. These are the candidates for Aliyah who are below the age of 40. They will be able to fight anti-Semitism as Jews, not as Goyim in Israel. And that's the one thing. But it's just a drop in the sea. We need much more than that. The efforts that started with Chaver Knesset Stern, with the legislation on conversion that failed, now got another solution coming from the Supreme Court. And it allows us to open the gates, to be more inclusive in our approaches. And I think this is the way to go. But we need your support. We need the support of the rabbis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Elazar, why don't you give the last word on this? Thank you.
Okay, you know, to be a little bit kind of extreme, I think that the BDS welfare, it's right to avoid the real, you know, it's temporary challenge. I agree with it. It's very important. But it's one of the issues that the government raised in order not to fight the real challenge of the future of the Jewish people here, and unfortunately, according after what Adam Milstein just said, in another 10 years, this hall is going to be 1/4 full. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, gentlemen.